everyone, Ash here and welcome to a new series on the channel called From the Vault. In this series I'm going to be taking a classic film, well not classic, older film because not all of them are classics, and discussing the history of their production, some trivia about the film, their box office success or failure, and giving my personal review at the end about these films. So if you're interested in this series, hit that like button so I know it's well received. If not, hit that thumbs down button and I won't do any more, or maybe one more. Try it out. And yeah, and if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button because it helps me get motivated as well. But anyway, for the first ever From the Vault series, I'm going to be looking at the classic Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yes, so let's get into it. So the plot of the film: in a world where cartoons and humans live together, Roger Rabbit is a B-list toon who just happens to have been accused of murder. Now his only hope is Private Eye Eddie Valiant, who just happens to hate toons. With the police led by the menacing Judge Doom closing in, it's up to Eddie to find out who framed Roger Rabbit. And that's the plot. History! The film is based on the novel Who Censored Roger Rabbit, which was written by Gary K. Wolfe. Disney bought the rights in 1981, however it took them 8 years to produce the film. Robert Zemeckis offered his services in 1982 as a director, however Disney declined because his last two films were kind of a box office failure. However, they did change their mind in 1985 as the director had just come off two massive hits in Romancing the Stone and obviously Back to the Future. The film was produced by Amblin Entertainment, which is of course headed by Steven Spielberg. The original projected budget was of 50 million. However, Disney felt that was too expensive and only greenlit the film once the budget was brought down to 30 million. Obviously, during filming they kind of went over budget because the film ended up costing them 70 million, which made it one of the most expensive movies ever produced in the 80s. Steven Spielberg was key in convincing numerous animation studios, including Warner Brothers, to lend some of their key animated stars. However, despite his success, he failed to get a number of characters that he wanted, including Popeye, Tom and Jerry, and Casper the Ghost. Another thing Spielberg failed at was casting Harrison Ford as Eddie Valiant. Despite him really wanting him in the role, the studio felt he was way too expensive for the budget. After numerous auditions and trials, Christopher Lloyd was cast as Judge Doom, mostly due to his working relationship with Zemeckis. Obviously, they had just worked together on Back to the Future. As mentioned, the budget had started to go overboard once they had started production, and Disney were tempted to pull the plug once it had reached 40 million. However, the studio chairman convinced them to go through with it because they were, real excited to work with Spielberg and Zemeckis. Post-production lasted 14 months as it was a real challenge to mix green screen, live action, animation all in one, but the final product was finally released, as we mentioned, in June 1988. Trivia! Bob Hoskins was never the studio's first choice to be Eddie Valiant. That went obviously to Harrison Ford, who was deemed too expensive. But also Zemeckis and Spielberg's second choice, which was Bill Murray, couldn't audition for the role because they were unable to contact him. Years later, Murray heard of this and was really mad. This was kind of what pushed him to star in Space Jam, which was another cartoon live-action hybrid. Roger's wife, the sex bomb Jessica Rabbit, was voiced by two actresses. Her singing parts were by Amy Irvine and her speaking parts were done by Kathleen Turner, although Kathleen Turner was never credited for the performance. Before Christopher Lloyd was cast as Judge Doom, a number of other actors were considered for the role, including Christopher Lee, who turned it down. And one of the biggest surprises was Tim Curry, who actually auditioned for the role and was deemed way too terrifying by the production team. God knows what he must have done because Lloyd is terrifying in the film, so if he was deemed too terrifying, wow. Warner Brothers only allowed Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck to be in the film on the condition that they have the same screen time as Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. That's why during the film you only see them when they're in the same scene, when Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse are falling with the parachute, and Daffy Duck and Donald Duck have that famous piano duel. Originally, Judge Doom was supposed to have 7 weasels helping him in a parody of the 7 Dwarfs. However, these were cut down to 5 due to the budget. Another thing that was cut down to the budget was an animated vulture, which should have been on Judge Doom's shoulder all the time, along with a briefcase which would have had an animated 7 small kangaroos, which would be a biased jury and would help him show that Toons are guilty. Again, these were all removed due to the budget. If you look closely, you will notice that Christopher Lloyd never blinks when he's in the film as Doom. This was helped to portray his menacing nature and kind of give that Easter egg that he's a Toon. During the initial writing period, the writers couldn't decide on who the villain was. Scripts were written where Baby Herman was the killer, and scripts were written where Jessica Rabbit was the killer, before the writers kinda decided to create the new character, which was Judge Doom, and make him the villain. When they created the character of Judge Doom, they initially created his backstory as being the hunter who killed Bambi's mother to make him more menacing. However, as the scripts went along, that was actually removed. Originally, the producers had the idea that Eddie would turn into a Toon when he visited Toontown, and in fact they had got the animation team to work on it and animate the scenes. However, later on they changed their minds and went with the live-action hybrid, which annoyed the animation team, who had spent 7 weeks working on this animation. Obviously they still got paid, so yeah. But I'd like to see that, that would be interesting. And one last little bit of trivia is the case in which Eddie's cartoon gun is held bears the inscription, "Thanks for getting me out of the hoo-ah," by Yosemite Sam. Who knows what trouble Sam was in, but Eddie seemed to manage to get him out of it. And that's it for the trivia. The film was a massive box office success. It debuted at #1 with 11.2 million and went on to gross 154 million in the US. Its worldwide gross was 351 million, which made it the second biggest grossing movie of 1988, behind Rain Man. At the time of its release, it was actually the 20th highest grossing film of all time. That's how much of a hit it was, all on the budget of 70 million. The film was not only a box office success, but also really praised by critics, who really enjoyed the mixture of live action and animation. The film currently has a 9.7 rating on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.7 on IMDb. So as for my personal review, I actually rewatched the film and I can say now it's still a really fantastic movie. I really enjoyed rewatching it. It's as funny as it was, and now as an adult, because I used to watch it a lot as a kid, but now as an adult I can actually enjoy and appreciate all the work that went into making the animation live action hybrid. And I also get a lot of the adult jokes which kind of flew over my head as I was a kid. I can actually realize that Jessica Rabbit is way too sexy for a kid's movie, and that's why Disney were a bit worried about releasing. In fact, it was released as Touchstone's Pictures and not as a Disney movie, although it's considered a Disney movie now. Will there ever be a sequel? I know that Roman Zemeckis had mentioned that he did want to make a sequel, and he said that the script was fantastic. However, in this day and age, it's too risky for Disney to make it, so that kind of gives you an idea where they might have went. I love the film, it's really cool, I enjoyed watching it with my daughter, and yeah, it holds up. It's very funny, it's a great mystery adventure, and not only that, it's a great tribute to the old noir films of the 1920s. Definitely worth checking out. I'll give this film a 4.5 out of a 5 because it's super enjoyable, and yeah, I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So that's it. That was the first ever episode of From the Vault. I hope you've enjoyed it. I want to thank you for watching it. And also, if you want to drop your comments down below, let me know where I can improve the series, feel free to do that. I always appreciate feedback. And also maybe suggest some other films that you would like me to do a From the Vault video on. Remember to hit that like button. And also, if you are new to the channel, consider watching some of my other videos down below. And maybe even hitting that subscribe button, because it helps me out a lot and keeps me motivated. Anyway, I will see you all next time. Bye bye.